In order to make a Super Bowl run in the NFL, virtually everything has to go your way almost. Well, for the Detroit Lions, doubt is being cast on one of the most crucial aspects of their team being considered not good enough in order to make a Super Bowl. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. It doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So here's the thing, folks. I'm going to be talking about an article that came out a couple of days ago. And when I first saw this article, I kind of, just kind of shuffled it away, dismissed it, didn't think too much about it. But every time I kept checking the news, I kept coming back to this article. And I'm going to put the article at, like the title and all that nonsense up so that way you guys can understand what article I'm talking about. It comes from Pride of Detroit. But I kept coming back to the article, I kept rereading it, and the more I read it, the more I kept coming back to it, the more it just kept getting under my damn skin. Because I was just like, dude, this makes no damn sense. I can't understand how somebody, even if it's from a rival team, because this is coming from the perspective of a Vikings fan, I can't understand how somebody can be this brain dead, this literally stupid, to come up with this perspective. And I was just like, dude, this is literally asinine. This is so ridiculous. It is laughable. And the more I thought about it, the more it just kept getting under my skin to where I was like, you know what? I've got to say something. I've got to do something, because it's like the fact that you have people that still, after everything that has transpired with Jared Goff, ever since he has gotten here to Detroit, that still want to doubt his capabilities to win, I think is just the sheer definition of insanity. Because, you know what? You could have had this argument in 2021 and nobody would have batted an eyelash. Nobody would have freaking had any sort of doubt with you having this conversation. Maybe even into the early part of 2022, nobody would have had a problem with this conversation. But by this point, to continue to bring this conversation up that you doubt Jared Goff's ability to win, that you doubt his ability to get the Lions to a Super Bowl, is just ridiculous. There's absolutely so much evidence contrary to this thought process. There is so much mounting evidence, even by today, that it gets even more asinine and more just stupid that anybody that continues to argue this point looks like. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go through every single bit of information, every single bit of evidence that I have at my disposal to try and once again reinforce, to try and once again strengthen that Jared Goff is good enough to get to a Super Bowl. He is good enough to win a Super Bowl. That he is going to be the one that gets the Lions to and win a Super Bowl. So that's where this is going. That's what this conversation's about. So let's take a look at it. Like I said, the article that we're talking about from Pride of Detroit is from a Vikings fan perspective who is pretty much casting doubt that the Detroit Lions quarterback Jared Goff has the ability, is good enough, sufficient enough to win a Super Bowl, to get the Lions to a Super Bowl. So let's examine this really quickly. Let's take a look at everything that has transpired in Jared Goff's career before he came to Detroit and after he's gotten here, to provide the evidence that Jared Goff does have that ability. First and foremost, let's think about this. Jared Goff has played in multiple different systems. He has played in multiple different teams, and he has had success on every single team that he has played for. One of the arguments that the article was referring to from this Vikings fan is that Jared Goff is only good within a certain system. The problem is, though, that is a complete falsehood. Go back to his college days. Jared Goff took the California Bears program that had been absolutely terrible, had been horrible prior to his arrival, and he turned it around, made it into a bowl program by the time they had left. They actually had won a bowl game by the time Jared Goff had left. And oh, by the way, if that program had not turned around, if that program had not started gaining recognition, how in the hell did Jared Goff become the number 1 overall draft pick in 2016? So, debunked there. Then, no sooner does Jared Goff leave the California Bear program in college, he then in 2017 starts turning around the LA Rams. And then, 2018, what happens? The very thing we're talking about here. Jared Goff takes the Rams to a Super Bowl. Now, granted, they lost that Super Bowl. But Jared Goff proved that he could take a program that 2 years prior to when he got drafted in 2016, he had taken them from that and he had gotten them to a Super Bowl. So again, had taken a program that for largely the last couple of years prior to his arrival had been a destitute program, had not had a whole lot of winning, and all of a sudden 2 years after he arrives, they're in the Super Bowl. Okay, now we talk about him getting here to Detroit. When he gets to Detroit, the Lions hadn't really had a whole lot of success the prior 20 years before he was even there, and hadn't really had a whole lot of success with the quarterback prior to him being there. And within 3 years, along with everybody else that's with the Detroit Lions, the Lions are literally this damn close to getting to a Super Bowl. They win a division title. They win playoff games. They get to the conference championship game, and they're that close to getting to a Super Bowl. You seeing the pattern there? Jared Goff, every single time he has played football for a program, whether it's in college, whether it's been in the NFL, he has taken a program that was not good, and every single time has helped turn it around. That's not just coincidence. That's not just, you know what? It just happened. Jared Goff had a hand in that. So that's point number 1. Point number 2. Let's take a look at the fact that Jared Goff, over the time that he has been in multiple different programs, just from the NFL perspective, he has had the ability to develop multiple different types of talent in the NFL. Think about it. When he got to LA, he helped develop Cooper Kupp into the wide receiver that he is. He helped develop Josh Reynolds into the wide receiver that he is. Then when he gets here to Detroit, let's see, what does he do? He helps develop Amon-Ra St. Brown into the wide receiver that he is. He's developing Jameson Williams into the wide receiver he is, and he's most likely one of the biggest breakout candidates for the NFL this year. And he developed Sam Laporta into probably one of the biggest tight ends going into this year and is arguably a top 3, top 5 tight end right now after one rookie year. That's it. But that's how good Jared Goff has been at developing talent. That is how good Jared Goff has been at quarterback, because it's like, hey, one of the defining characteristics of playing quarterback is not only your ability to produce stats, not only your ability to win, but how good are you able to develop talent around you to move to another level. Jared Goff has proven that he is very good at this. That's point number 2. Let's take a look next at how Jared Goff, when he first got here in 2021, we all remember the story, we all remember the time. The Detroit Lions in 2021, let's call for what they were. They were crap. They were not a very good team. Everybody and their brother knew it. They were coming into that season with in essence, a skeleton crew of a team because freaking Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia had mismanaged the roster so bad that freaking Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they had to start all the way over down to the bare studs of a team, and they just had to build from there. But let's think about it. By the time we got to the last third of the season, the last month and a half of the season, just by adding Josh Reynolds, just by having Amon-Ra St. Brown really starting to show out, by starting to flourish, Jared Goff over the last month and a half of the NFL season was the 3rd best statistical quarterback. Go back to 2021 and look at the last 6 games that Jared Goff played. He had a 67, almost 68% completion rate percentage. He had almost 1,300 yards. He had 11 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions and a near 102 passer rating in the last 6 games he played. For a quarterback to play that well on a team that was as bad as the Detroit Lions were at that time, that is unbelievable. And again, like I said, he was the 3rd best quarterback over the last month and a half of the year for the 2021 season. Again, I think the only quarterbacks that were better than him were Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. That was it. So again, that ought to tell you something, that even when the chips are down, even when Jared Goff has virtually nothing to work with damn near, he can still get the job done and he can still play at a very high, very elite level. So that's another point that we can talk about here, about how Jared Goff is more than good enough to get the job done. But again, I'm just warming up, folks. This is just the ensemble. We're getting into now the main argument here. Let's take a look at what's happened over the last 2 years since Jared Goff has been here. So 2022, 2023. Jared Goff has been an unbelievable stat machine for the Detroit Lions. Take a look at 2022 and 2023 combined. Jared Goff has the 9th highest passing completion percentage in the NFL. He has the 2nd most passing touchdowns, only behind Patrick Mahomes. He has the 3rd most passing touchdowns. He has the 5th highest passer rating. Jared Goff is a top 5 quarterback over the last 2 years in the NFL in terms of his statistical production. And that's just the basic stats. Let's take a look at this little thing. This comes from PFF directly. Take a look at this little diagram. Jared Goff over the last 2 years has, actually not last 2 years, 2021, he has the 2nd most touchdown passes against the blitz. He has more touchdown passes against the blitz than Patrick Mahomes. He's only behind Dak Prescott. He has 34 passes against the blitz. Now granted, this came out prior to last year starting. So think about that. Jared Goff has also proven one of the biggest areas that people want to continue to contend with him is that he's not good under pressure. He's not good against the blitz. That right there shows that he definitely is. Oh, and by the way, Jared Goff is also in the NFL history books as well. He has the 3rd longest streak in NFL history of passes without an interception at 383. I'm telling you this right now. The numbers that Jared Goff's been putting up over the last 2-3 years all combined and all that nonsense, that's not just coincidence. That's not just because Jared Goff is a lucky guy and all this other stuff that people want to say about him. You cannot put up those kinds of numbers if you're not a good to great quarterback. You simply cannot do it. So again, that's another point. Let's keep going down this gravy train. Let's now take a look at the fact that, again, over the last 3 years, 2021 to now, Goff has had to continually reinvent himself. He has continually had to, remorphosize himself in with the new influx of talent that is being brought into the Detroit Lions. Again, let's go back to 2021. We have two big new rookies that come into that come into the Detroit Lions. We get Amon-Ra St. Brown and we get Penei Sewell. Plus, on top of that, Jared Goff is dealing with a brand new team. He's dealing with a brand new head coach, and halfway through the season, he has to deal with a whole new offensive play caller being put into place. Because, oh, that's right, Anthony Lynn got revoked of his play calling duties, and then Dan Campbell started taking care of play calling duties. Jared Goff had to completely be flexible to everything that was going on in 2021 because he was in a completely brand new situation. Then you move into 2022. Oh, that's right. I talked about this in a previous episode way back in the day. It was one of my favorite episodes to make. This was going back to DLF. It was a report about how Jared Goff had changed up his footwork mechanics because in the shotgun prior to, he used to have his right foot up, but now he has his left foot up. The reason why is so that way when he steps back and he starts his drop back, he opens up much more quickly so that way he can get his throws out. Instead of where he's got his right foot up, it takes an extra half a second so that way his foot can get back so that way he starts his drop back. That was a huge footwork mechanic that he had to change, that he had to adapt to. Oh, also in 2022, he has a brand new offensive coordinator that he has to learn how to work with, how to adapt to, in Ben Johnson. And how does that all play out? Oh, that's right. The Detroit Lions have a top 5 offense in 2022. And then we move to 2023. In 2023, Jared Goff is starting to develop more work and more chemistry with Jameson Williams. He's got 2 more big rookies to work with frickin' Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. And what happens? Oh, that's right. We have a top 3 offense in 2023. Jared Goff, every single year, has had to adapt. He has had to work with new pieces. He's had to change various aspects of how he is with this team in order to continually get better. Again, this goes back to one of the biggest phrases that I continually refer to from Marty Schottenheimer. Marty Schottenheimer said you have to reinvent yourself every single year, not only as a coach, but also as a player. Jared Goff has been doing it ever since he got here to Detroit, and every single year he has gotten better and better at what he does. That's another point. Let's move into yet another one. Then let's think about how over the last 2 years around the NFL, Jared Goff has changed the perception that is about him. If you go back to 2021, when Goff got traded here, what was the perception? What was the narrative? Oh, that's right. Jared Goff is a bridge quarterback. He's a placeholder for the next guy that's going to take over. He's washed up. He's nobody now. Now we get to 2022 after that whole season is expired. Oh, that's right. At the end of that year, Jared Goff gets into the top 100, ranked number 66. He's a Pro Bowl selection. He's a fringe top 5 quarterback statistically by the end of the year. Again, you take a look at Jared Goff's numbers in 2022, he was a fringe top 5 quarterback just by his statistics alone. And with the fact that he made it to the Pro Bowl, the fact that the rest of his colleagues around the NFL said, yeah, this is a top 100 player here. That was just in 2022. Then we get to last year in 2023. We just saw Jared Goff got put on the top 100 yet again, even higher than what he was last year. He got ranked at number 48 this year. Oh, and again, just like in 2022, Jared Goff has another great statistical season. He has a top 10 season. He puts up even more numbers than what he did the previous year. And then, on top of that, Jared Goff gets the Detroit Lions a division title. He gets them playoff wins and gets them to an NFC Conference championship game. Just over the short span of 3 years, Jared Goff has drastically, radically changed the perception of what kind of a quarterback he is in the NFL. Again, that's not something that is just done by, hey, you know what, I just showed up and did my job. No, that's by you having talent. That's by you going to work every single day, pushing the boundaries, constantly getting better. That's not just, oh, well, you know what? You're just good enough to play quarterback. No. That's the definition of a top quarterback. That is the definition of a Super Bowl possible caliber winning quarterback. And then, let's just think about what happened this offseason as we start getting closer and closer to present day here. What did the Lions do? Oh, that's right. The Lions gave Jared Goff a massive contract. They gave him a 4-year, $212 million contract where they're paying him on average $53 million a year. 80% of his contract is fully guaranteed. And on top of that, there's a no-trade clause in that contract. The Lions are not going to hand a contract like that to a quarterback that is not good enough to win them a Super Bowl. They're not going to hand that contract to a guy they don't believe in. That's not going to happen. Jared Goff now has the highest paid the highest paid contract that has ever been given to a Detroit Lion member over the entire history of the franchise. That does not happen if he's not a quarterback that can win the Super Bowl. And who's the guy that gave him the contract? Brad Holmes. And Brad Holmes has been argued as one of the best GMs over the last couple of years, not only in his ability to find talent in the free agency pool, but also in his ability to draft. So are you really going to want to try and argue with Brad Holmes' ability to evaluate talent? I wouldn't. I sure as hell wouldn't try to. But again, as we get closer and closer here, let's take a look at some more evidence here. Let's look at the fact that, like I've been saying, and I've kind of sporadically talked about it here over the course of this episode, Jared Goff accomplished something that not even Matthew Stafford could do here in Detroit, and had not been done in over 30 years. Jared Goff won a division title. Jared Goff had a 12-win season. Jared Goff also won 2 consecutive playoff games. That is something that had not been nearly done in 60 years. And Jared Goff got us to an NFC Conference Championship game appearance. And just to further highlight upon that, Jared Goff was literally a whisker away from taking the Lions to a Super Bowl. Think about that. For the longest time, it was such a joke that the thought of the Lions and the Super Bowl being in the same sentence was absolutely laughable. But I literally just said it because it was the damn truth. We were that damn close from getting to a Super Bowl. And some of the things that happened that caused us to get from not getting into the Super Bowl had very little to do with Jared Goff. Josh Reynolds had 2 very, very critical bad drops. Jahmyr Gibbs had a fumble at the very beginning of the second half. And also, the defense had a meltdown in the second half. That's not to say that the offense didn't have a meltdown either. But that's not because of what Jared Goff did or did not do. The point of the matter is that for Goff to get that close with the Detroit Lions of all teams, and now you have people that are continually saying that Jared Goff is not good enough to get to and win a Super Bowl when he was that close to doing it just last year, that to me sounds just absolutely stupid. Oh, and then like I said, let's take a look at what's been happening this year in training camp. We've already been hearing reports about how Jared Goff is literally tearing it up in practice, about how he is being surgically precise with his throws. He's completing pass after pass after pass, and how he's expanding the deep ball option. We just saw a freaking clip the other day where Jared Goff throws a beautiful, perfectly timed, perfectly placed ball to Jameson Williams, and Jameson Williams run all the way to the freaking end zone. Think about this. If Jared Goff can further expand upon that with everything else that he's already done, please explain to me how Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions can't get to a Super Bowl. You can come up with all the damn reasons that you want, but I literally just laid out 3 years worth of evidence. 3 freaking years, and some of this evidence comes prior to that. So to anybody that wants to keep doubting that Jared Goff cannot win a Super Bowl, I sincerely have to ask you, where have you been the last 3 years? Are you just still living in some worldview that, you know what, just because Jared Goff wasn't able to do it with Sean McVay, that somehow that permeating stink of that stupid narrative is what you're basing your entire thought process on? Because if it is, I'm going to tell you this, get with the damn times. Jared Goff has been able to do more here with the Detroit Lions than virtually any quarterback has been able to do with the Lions since the time of Bobby Lane. And that's going back to the 1950s. There's a reason why Jared Goff got the contract. There's a reason why Jared Goff is getting the accolades that he's getting. There's a reason why Jared Goff has been producing the way he's been producing. It's not because of coincidence. It's not because he's lucky. It's because Jared Goff is that damn good of a quarterback. Get on board. Stop coming up with excuses. Take accountability for what the reality of the situation is and get over it. That's the point of the episode. So having said that, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. I've got next episode that comes out, but also any episode that I had released prior to this. Also encourage y'all to please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also, if you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, again, highly encourage y'all to please make sure you hit that bell notification icon as well, so that way you guys never miss any more content I push out. Also encourage y'all to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel grows, the greater the channel has a reach, the greater we're having the ability to spread it and bring more people in. And with that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed the content. I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.